Hi, good afternoon. So we have a very strong panel of speakers. Each one of them, you already know them. And since we are very bound on time, this session is for 45 to 50 minutes at the most. So we will take a quick round and we will avoid this introductory session. I'll just introduce myself. I am Ronnie Banerjee. I am representing EY as an advisor and I am the moderator. And let us directly move on to the session. As you rightly understand, it's around innovation and manufacturing, the Indian scenario. So, what we had done before, finding a template for this session, that we discussed amongst ourselves that what are the key or the nodal issues around which we can open up a generic as well as a very technically sound discussion which is for everybody. So I have certain pointers which we would open, which we would place on the domain, and specifically they would be addressed respectively by our honorable speakers over here. So just to set the right tone, I would, sir, with your permissions, I would put up the session with a tone. We all know India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and innovation is essential to sustain this growth trajectory. With the manufacturing sector contributing significantly to the GDP, innovation can help drive growth, competitiveness, and job creation. So, to the panel, I would like the insights upon what is the take around innovation in terms of innovation. Like, how do we take innovation, be it for the manufacturing or the generic use, be it the creativity, the novelty, the ingenuity, the invention, the modernization, the progress, breakthroughs, revolutions, whatever. Or is there any other critical perspective to it, sir? So this is my first agenda on the panel, and Amol sir, yeah.
I think you can come to the seat.
Yeah, I'll come.
Otherwise, you'll be standing 45 minutes.
Hello. Yeah. So again, good afternoon, everyone. And definitely we, along with Ronnie, will try to keep you awake after a nice lunch session. I think that is a tough job, but definitely earlier session was very interesting and we'll try to keep the same pace. When we talk about innovation, I'm sure each one of you heard the first discussion this morning where you saw and people spoke about our comparative placement as a country in terms of innovation and its efforts and the funding around it. So definitely when you think about the innovation in the manufacturing space, definitely it is a top-down approach where you would see that there should be more of a top-down approach in terms of putting the funding, having the consistent effort around it. But when I come to like companies like us for G Aviation, the top-down approach for us is like our purpose statement says, we invent the future of flight, we lift people up and bring them home safely. And invention is the center of everything what we do and definitely ensure the safety of our people and across the supply chain. Now, from the same point of view, if I just take it from top to the bottom, and I think only one point I'll pick up from what Ronnie says around creativity, it is very easy from the top, you can say, yes, you have to do invention, we'll provide you the funding, but who is going to do the invention? And how you can inculcate that behavior in a culture where people are opening up, they are taking interest to do innovation. Innovation cannot be just kept with the people who are doing the R&D. A lot of innovation happens in the shop floor. And I'm sure each one of you might have seen that ideas can come from anywhere. You heard Mr. Mani this afternoon or in the morning session, he spoke about that each one of the person in his shop was like coming up with some or the other idea. And as a leader, you have to hear those out. But for somebody to come and give you the idea, what you need to create? You need to create an environment where people are able to open up and people are able to contribute. And that is where the psychological safety comes into play, where how you are creating that environment where people are opening up and people are talking about. And that is the first step for you to create the creativity within your organization. And second is give that space, celebrate the failures. Correct? Again, you heard in the morning that there are more learning in the failure than the success. And that's where you need to create an environment within your organization or wherever you are working where you celebrate the failures. You fail fast because at the end of the day, you have to make money as well. You are not here for the charity in the business. But you need to try, you need to create that environment where people fail fast. And in that process, you learn something and you keep innovating something. So that is the way I would think about when I think about the innovation, the whole ecosystem, that how you can have a top-down approach and then from the bottoms up, how people can work on and how can they be more creative. And in that process, definitely some of the things will be repeating, some of the things people will be trying to learn from some other places. But that is a process. As a country, we need to learn that art. Over a period of time, we started learning and we are good at learning and creating stuff like our own. And in this young world, or young India, you will see a lot of such innovations are coming up and are being nurtured further. So that is what my take on this.
That was great, Amol sir. And specifically when you said, yeah, so that was quite a piece to be heard from Amol sir with his entire experience of the aviation sector and other industries. And he rightly mentioned about the top-down approach, and at the same time he also spoke about the behavioral aspects at the shop floor level, or at the it can sometimes emerge as the bottom-up approach as well for innovation. So without taking much time, I would like to move forward with our next topic of discussion. And let me request all of you, if there are any questions, we can take it towards the end of the session. So should I proceed, sir? So, in recent years, Indian manufacturing has been facing stiff competition from other countries like China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, all these manufacturing companies who majorly operate as ancillaries for other larger industries. So to remain competitive, Indian manufacturers must innovate in areas such as automation, this is just a thought, a trigger point, digitization, supply chain management, product design. So my request to the panel is their learned experience in terms of the edge, the advantage, the superiority or the leadership, supremacy, dominance, vigor and power that would go into making this happen. Sir, Zurban sir.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. So good afternoon, everybody, and a pleasure to be here sharing our thoughts. After all, we are all learning over here. So there's a thought that I would like to really put forward. I think, when we heard one of the speakers this morning said, I'm going to talk from the sales point of view in the manufacturing discussion. And that made me think, that we talk about, I'm from sales, I'm from manufacturing. I think we need to look at it as a business, but that's not what I was really coming to. What I'm looking at is the fact that we do a lot of segmentation of the market. Now, when we look at competitiveness and the fact that India wants to, and we as a country want to make ourselves a significant global power in manufacturing, we have to really segment the manufacturing demand, the demand from manufacturing. So where I'm coming from is that if I were to very broadly put it, we would have the standard requirements and mass production, and then we would have customized production. And today the world and the customer demand is moving more and more towards customized demand. Now the sweet spot that India needs to really find, and this is something that I very strongly believe in, because where mass production is concerned, I think, let's face it, there are countries which have stolen a march on us, but that's not the end of the race. There is customization, and there is one more, which is a combination of the two, which I would call mass customization. Now, it is in both these areas that I believe that we as a country stand a chance of making our mark in the global manufacturing, on the global manufacturing stage. Customization, why? A, yes, we have a good population spread, a good demographic in terms of the number of engineers, skilled engineers. We are able to do design, concept to design to manufacture. Customization, because we are able to adapt the requirements very quickly. And mass customization is an aspect of bringing design into it, whereby by the manufacture of standard components in a mass manner, you get the advantage of mass production, but the combination, the non-standard combination of standard components, which gives you a customized product. That is an area where I believe that we really need to focus. Now, there is a challenge that comes up with customization, and that is to make sure, A, that the needs of the customer are captured and brought correctly to the point of manufacture, and that the correctly manufactured product goes to the correct customer. And that's not as simple, because I have learned the hard way, and I have been handling these products, and I'm going back 2.5 decades to where this used to be a major challenge. And that is where we need digitization of systems. We need to be able to trace and track components across our manufacturing setups. We need to have proper track. We need to be able to ensure that the voice of the customer is not distorted in any way. So these are the challenges, and these are the areas on which we need to focus our efforts if we are to make ourselves significant as a global player on the manufacturing platform. The Chinas and the Vietnams and all those countries have moved ahead in certain areas, but this is a gap. And like we say in marketing, it's all about finding the gap and filling that gap and having that mover advantage there. I'm not saying first mover intentionally. That is where India can make its mark on the manufacturing platform. Innovation, just one point I'd like to add, criticality is adaptability and flexibility. There is the classic case which I often talk about of a bridge in the Honduras. It's known as the bridge to nowhere. If I remember right, it's called the Choluteca, on the Choluteca River. This was a bridge that was manufactured using Japanese technology, best in class. It was really solid to withstand the challenges of the flooding that happened in the Honduras, which is very vulnerable to it. They built this beautiful bridge, which within a few years was hit by a massive flood, which rerouted the river. And today the river moves from next to the bridge, and the bridge is standing over sand. If you don't have adaptability, we'll have our bridge to nowhere. That's a thought I'd like to leave on the table, that we need to be thinking about this.
Yeah, please. When we compare with the China, if we talk about the backward integration, we are really facing a huge problem, because we are dependent on China, and that kills our speed and reliability. So it is always better to have a backward integration facility within our country, number one. Number two, we are talking about the vocal for local. Similarly, we can also convert our thoughts like think globally, act locally. This would completely change the mindset of our people, that ultimately what a multinational or multi-nation, what is their expectation in terms of quality, cost, and the reliability. If these are the two, on top of many more things, if we at least create such conditions within the organization, within the academia, within the policymakers, I think this would be another great possibilities for us to, we may not be on the spot in a position to reach to the level of China, but over a period of time, maybe another 3 to 5 years, we can definitely make our mark in our boosting our economy.
So wonderful insights, especially when Zarban sir spoke about the bridge to nowhere, and what I could gather from his entire deliberation is that he said he learnt it the very hard way. So unless and until you learn it the very hard way, you may have a bridge to nowhere. That is what I could gather with my layman's knowledge. So wonderful insights, sir, Narendra sir as well. We would move on to our next point of discussion, that is around that all of us, each one of us, have known the nuances of the pandemic. So that was altogether a new paradigm shift for all of us in some way or the other. So I thought that I must touch this point as well, vis-a-vis the innovation and manufacturing and the topic of the day. So my indicators are that the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of innovation in manufacturing, especially in areas such as medical equipment. All of you would relate to that. Pharmaceuticals, wellness, and sports industry. There are others also. Indian manufacturers must continue to innovate to meet the growing demand for such products and services. So we request the panel their take on this in terms of the corona outbreak and the aftermath, any other kind of pandemic, public health emergencies, global crisis, events like lockdowns, social distancing, etc., etc. All of this we have all evidenced, and we have seen the aftermath and the innovations that followed. So I request the learned panel, especially Anil sir, if you can.
Yes, I'm audible. Good afternoon again. So Ronnie, as you rightly said, I think pandemic was something we all got impacted. We all learned something or the other, and definitely that was the case also for the industry and especially manufacturing. Definitely the whole life cycle of the manufacturing got impacted during COVID pandemic, be it be supply chain, be it be raw material sourcing, be it be production itself, be it be supplies to the customers and markets, be it be customer service. So the whole nuances of the business cycle got impacted. And I must say that that pushed and forced industry to innovate, to still continue the business, especially when there was a time when it was seeming as if there's no end to the pandemic. And definitely it was looking like there is a dead end coming in. And that was when industry stood up and said, okay, let's face the reality and let's live with the pandemic. Let's live with the virus. And I must say that that prompted a lot of innovation in the industry, be it in terms of especially digitalization. You talk about augmented reality, you talk about AI, you talk about data and analytics. Today, after pandemic, the industry and manufacturing have realized the importance of data, why data storage is so important, and not only storage, but also analytics. So a lot of work is going on even now to have the efficient and strong analytics of the data what we have. Because if we have the right data analytics, what we can have is very optimized processes, be it in terms of manufacturing process, be it in terms of forecasting, be it in terms of inventory management, or supply to the customers. And we see that the whole value chain and the whole life cycle of manufacturing has become much more efficient. Talking about augmented reality, and I must also give example from my own company. I come from BASF, and at that time we had several projects going on across the world, especially coming up with greenfield expansions. So one example was where we had the engineering team sitting in India, and they had to do the expansion work at Malaysia. And there were travel restrictions, nobody can go. And the project was getting delayed. Also the cost escalation chances were there, because then if you delay the project, the cost goes up. So we took help of augmented reality, especially the HoloLens, and engineers sitting over here, they coordinated with engineers and suppliers across the globe to ensure that even without traveling and being over there in Malaysia, the project could continue, and they could finish the project in time. So that was earlier also there, but at that time it was really implemented. And now I see that HoloLens have become one of the major tools with our engineering team, and many travels are now getting curtailed because we can use the technology and we can still execute the projects at remote locations. Also technologies like cloud computing, other thing which is coming up after pandemic. And again, that is something to do with where you do not have the hardware and the software at the premises, but actually you can have it outsourced and somebody can actually compute the data for you and provide you the services sitting somewhere else. So that's also coming up. Again, giving example of BASF, we had in that time, that was the time when we also came up with something called supercomputer. Which again it is one of the fastest computer in the world, especially in terms of research and innovation. And actually we can process a lot of data very fast and very quick, and that's also is helping now BSF do a lot of innovations, especially in the chemical world. One more example during COVID is about social distancing, and that time the operators and the workers were not allowed to come very close, and always there was a risk of infections. And then our engineers came with a unique idea to develop this RFID, which actually each operators can put on their body, and if they are coming very near, let's say less than 1.5 meters, then there'll be a beep. And that at that time, when it was really a peak and there was a lot of fear and scare about the virus, I think this technology also helped a lot to still keep the manufacturing streamlined and functional. So these are some examples I could come out with, what happened during the pandemic.
I would just like to
Yes, sir.
add on a lighter note that COVID really gave us an opportunity to practice an RRR in terms of review, reset, and recalibrate. And even the adaptability, I'd just like to add, it was so important that your existing product offerings were not what the market required. One had to really recalibrate the complete product offering to understand what it is that the customers required under the new circumstances in which they face themselves, like work from home, locked in at home. So that gave a whole lot of different opportunities. And those who could adapt fast enough and supply that kind of material, product and solution are the ones who actually benefited. So overall, COVID, for a lot of people who got it right, was not what they call annus horribilis, but annus mirabilis. It was a type of miracles.
Wonderful anecdotes, Zarban sir. And Anil sir, I'll come back to you. In his piece of deliberations, what I could gather as one of the trigger points is he spoke very subtly about one thing in innovation post-COVID, that's about forecasting vis-a-vis digitization. I think there is an immense opportunity around that. When you talk about forecasting, now you have a case study with you. Before pandemic, you just had that innovative idea, but now you have a case, you have proven parameters, you can use the AI and then go forward. That what if? The what if scenario is much more stable over there. So sir, thank you so much. You gave me food for thought and I'll start working on it. I know our young colleagues over here, they would also have considered that as one of the thought points. So without spending much time over here, we would move on to the next topic. And over to Narinder sir. Once at this juncture, after having discussed 3-4 topics, if we could have an understanding around the policy parameters and the policy ecosystem in Indian context, so that would be my request to Narinder sir. I'll just give you a cue. The Indian government has taken steps to encourage innovation in manufacturing through initiatives such as Make in India. Everybody is aware. And Atmanirbhar Bharat and things like that. However, the onus is on manufacturers to take advantage of these initiatives and invest in research and development to drive innovation. So, sir, what are your views on this around mechanization, robotics, AI, machine learning, control systems, industrial automation, smart manufacturing, and so on and so forth, sir?
It's a great question. Thank you very
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, and once again, good afternoon to all. I think this Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India, this is a wonderful initiative taken by government, and it has given excellent platform to Indian manufacturers and all of us. Now coming to the technological upgradation, if I see of last 10 years, in when again I little bit narrow down to in last 3 to 5 years time, whatever projects now, it is maybe in the concept stage or maybe in the construction stage or maybe in the commissioning stage. All greenfield projects are definitely adopting a new technology, not only in terms of creating a better quality, but it also, by using this technology, it also gives the sustainability and safety by and large. The problem where it comes is SMEs, because in India, labor cost is comparatively less compared to the other countries. And hence, because of such technology needs high level of capital investment. Return on investment is comparatively takes longer time. So gradually, these small industries will definitely come up to the mainstream, but it is just starting point. Now, what as a industries or a manufacturing sector, what is the responsibility of us as a industries? At least we should have a separate cell in the organization, promoting and creating a culture to adopt those technologies. Because in industries, you will find several functions, maybe safety, energies, utilities, waste management. We never find innovation cell. Number one. Number two, sometimes we are also restricting ourselves in order to protect our technology. It is always better to have an open innovation. When I use the word open innovation, it means we should not restrict ourselves to utilize our own resources, our own knowledge, our own technology. We should also invite academia, institute, other industries, even competitors. Sometimes we should also take the feedback from the people. I think all put together, we should create an ecosystem by which this innovative technology can easily adaptable, and this would definitely bring efficiency through innovation and surety in terms of the reliability. In terms of the government, there is also some certain things is required to be done. Like we are a master, particularly in the IT. But when we talk about the application part in the industries, there is a still very big gap. We do not have the right skill of people who can directly utilize this technology with the full potential. It is always better to have a very high level of collaboration within the industries, institute, and the government. And the third important thing is government policy must always try to adopt certain volatility factors into it. When business are not doing rightly, even after having modification or certain changes, in that case, government should give some rebate to the people just to encourage them innovative ideas for the implementation. We can fail. But our overall intention is to bring surety, sustainability, reliability, and boosting the economy by using our talent power which is available in India. This is my take.
Thank you, sir. Taking a cue from what you had been discussing, just before this panel discussion began, we were sitting together and we were having a lot of insights from Shishir sir. So taking a cue from what Narinder sir you have said, I'll just throw open my understanding upon certain things which you have touched, but I am sure Shishir sir with his experience of his parent industry right now would be able to add much value And I would also request Anil sir, if you have also some examples around this, I'll just throw it open. That, as you rightly said, sir, collaboration between industry and academia can also help drive innovation in Indian manufacturing. By working together, manufacturers can leverage the expertise of researchers and academics to develop new products, processes, and technologies. So the panel may elaborate upon this in terms of, sir, excellence, because the industry that you come from is all about excellence, standards, superiority, precision, perfection, more so reliability. That is the point which we discussed just before the panel. Durability as well as the robustness. Sir, all over to you, Sishish sir.
Thanks. Thank you. Of course, we've been talking about innovation. We have been talking about, how do I bring the sustainability? We have been talking about how do I bring durability, robustness, and all that. But I don't think, we have a better people sitting out here who would understand this bad. Because this generation has seen what probably last 100 years I have never seen. They have passed through COVID. And I always believe that necessity is the mother of all inventions. And the type of invention these guys have seen as young generation, or even the, female counterparts, they've done some marvelous job. So we all went through something which we never predicted. No AI would have ever thrown COVID coming up, right? But then when it came, we all rose up to the sort of a level. And that's where probably answers a lot of discussions which we have been deliberating so long. Whether it was China or Vietnam or anybody, has anybody done better in COVID with such a large population, better than India? Probably the answer would be no. We did it, we proved it, right? How did it happen? And when you look into details of it, probably we all will realize that it was probably innovation at every level, right? And the innovation, we went far more beyond, because we don't have a capacity to capture what went around with, sort of 140 crore population. But yes, there were a lot of things which has gone right. And we proudly say today that we were able to bring all of them on one platform. Aadhaar was a very big thing. Isn't it? It's something which is AI tool which you have used. Isn't something where we all rose to and we saw and we were able to win that. Now the same thing is that, do we believe into sort of innovation? Do we have a capacity to do that? The answer is yes, we have. Do we have that sort of a technological advantage? We have. And what we were talking about, how do I bring this industry and academia together, is something going to propel the growth of India going future. Now, to just give you a small insight, today the Indian population is 140 crore. Per capita consumption of India in electricity is probably 1/9 of that done in USA, or probably 1/5 done in Germany, right? So the amount of growth which we are sitting on the cusp, that you can realize the energy consumption is going to go double in next 5 years. Now, how is going to cater to this need if we don't develop the talent within? Now, how this talent, all these innovations which are going to come, everyday life which you are talking about, IoT, and the types of instrument which you would be using, you have not even thought of today, right? We saw a lot of COVID time, delivery through robotics, and how this is going to pan out in future with, where we are living life practically with machines. Days are not far off probably with, chat, GPT, and we know what the way things are going on. It's, the cyborg life which is going to come through. Now, if that's a future where we are, and do we believe in ourselves? The answer is yes. And very rightly mentioned out, how do we do as a manufacturers and academia, if they can come together, we'll be able to bring a lot of innovation within. To cite an example that every industry has, if we reach out to the people, those who are consuming our product, and if we take the feedback from them, if we develop a system as a manufacturers, bringing them closer to us, I'm pretty sure as an India, we'll be able to make one of the world-class best product lines. And is it possible? Do we believe into it? And I'm very proud to say that now we have a lot of multinational company who are parenting in India, right? Multinational to me is very simple. The one which has in foots in several nations with the parent sitting in India. Now that's the future, right? How it's going to happen with a lot of academics and manufacturers coming together with, very rightly pointed out by my colleague, whereby we would develop a think tank session in every company where in a week we would invite everybody, because an idea is not a prerogative for anyone. So probably if I have a workforce of 10,000 people, if I invite once in a month or once in a week a think tank session in every department, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to come with a lot of ideas. If I invite academics into the manufacturing, I'll be able to get a lot of ideas. Every consumer who's consuming it, if I'd invite a session from them, it will be possible, because nobody can beat in IT where the Indian brain stands today. Yeah, so that's my take on it.
Thank you, Satish sir. And for me, the learnings are two things. One, that he is indicating at design thinking rapidly, going to be a part of everyday life in the industry. And secondly, he spoke about precision at the most meticulous level. Anil sir, you intend to add some examples to this? You said,
I think Shishir, well said. Maybe I can just substantiate to what you say from a BSF perspective. So we spend annually roughly 2 billion euros into R&D and innovation throughout the global R&D network what we have. So that's roughly 3% of our global annual turnover. In spite of that, and with such kind of a strong infrastructure within, we have roughly 10,000 R&D experts in the company. We are a big fan and big believer in academia collaboration. Globally, we have roughly 220 kind of collaborations and tie-ups with different universities and research centers across different continents. Coming to Asia, also again we have several such collaborations. One such collaboration is network of open research, wherein a lot of Asian research institutes are collaborating with us, and we started this collaboration in 2014, and so far in 8 years we successfully conducted 40 research projects, and out of that around 23 projects already are now transferred to business units, where now they are working on the scale-ups and go-to-market strategies, and some of them are also now successfully commercialized. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not only for small or even small local companies to go for academic collaboration, but even for large multinationals, it's a need of the hour to speed up the innovation, to speed up the scale. We can scale this kind of collaboration with such academic institutes. It's also very cost effective. You cannot have all your scientists and researchers within the company and pay them very, very high. And then also, if the lean period come, we don't have much projects, then what to do with them? So always you can scale up, scale down if you have academic or collaboration with academia. At the same time, you can get cutting edge technologies. I think this already was mentioned because there are a lot of studies and a lot of new topics which are now being discussed and being tutored in colleges and institutes, which is not there in companies. And all the things we talked about, including AI or AR, clouding, analytics, actually we can get these things imbibed in our industries pretty quickly if we have such collaborations. So that's all, Ronnie, I wanted to
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. So I'm getting a ticker also.
I just like to add one
Yeah.
small point here on the fact that academia and industry is a very symbiotic relationship, because today research has shown that less than 10% of our output from technical institutes are what you would call industry ready. By getting that symbiosis and getting that kind of collaboration happening, we would be able to improve on the output from the academia as well.
Amol sir, you have certain views? Because aviation may be having some different...
I would say in terms of when I look at, mainly if I look at industry and institute partnership, Definitely, a lot of our research work happens at our research center where, as you rightly pointed out, we hire a lot of researchers, doctors who come and then work with us. But definitely, when we go to the institute and start working on it, that is where rubber meets the road. And we see that the kind of expertise we need is not readily available. And that is where one side of it we should look at in terms of the innovation, that people in the institute should be worried more about innovating rather than just thinking about the grade, because I understand the grades give them like a edge around the job and all those things. But I think more and more industry should promote in terms of that what kind of projects people are doing. Are they really working on the real-time projects? I know a lot of deemed universities or institute nowadays are providing opportunity to do internships, but a lot of other institutes still lacking in that. So I think that is one area where we should look at. So again, in the interest of the time, I would say that we should stop here. If there are any questions, we can take it up.
So if there are any questions, because I'm continuously getting a ticker from there, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. We know that this can never end up, because it's so, when you talk about innovation, innovation is something that keeps on innovating itself. So if there are any specific questions to our panelists, another 2 to 3 minutes for that, and then ma'am, sure, we will conclude. Yeah? Yeah.
So it is said that innovation doesn't happen very fast. So how do you say that in the current situation in a VUCA world, how you can make this innovation for India very fast?
I think it's just a thought that I had running in my, this as well. I think we first need to identify. I talked earlier on about the gap, and we have to make sure that we do what is called as aim and shoot rather than spray and pray. So we can't do innovation all over the place. We've got to first have a direction. We need to identify that, and thereafter we should then work to put our heads together on innovation. And innovation defined very simply by, in fact, I'll name the person. It is Mr. Naushad Forbes when he was CII. So he used to say, innovation is something new for commercial exploitation. So let's not mix up between Kaizens and innovation. Kaizens are critical. They are the building blocks. But we need to take a specific aim and, put our thoughts into that direction. That is how we can speed it up. That's just a thought that I have.
And just to add, like all of us know that necessity is mother of innovation, correct? Or invention. And that is the way it happens, that if there is a need, you go and do. Otherwise, it's just a research project, more academic purpose, may not be resulting in any commercial value or any value which can be used for the masses. So that is the way we see it in our areas, a lot of these innovations. And that's where our company came with the idea that, okay, fail fast. You try something, but fail fast and decide whether it makes sense or not, rather than just continue working on it.
Thank you so much.
See, incremental innovation, anyway, it happens every day. What we are talking about, breakthrough innovation, disruptive innovation. This is very, very important for our country to boost our economy and at least making ourselves our leader. These are the two areas which is required. And one more thing is, it is, as you rightly mentioned, structured way of identifying gaps and how best we can challenge those status quo in order to make ourselves better through innovation. That is the need of the hour.
Thank you so much.
I think there aren't any questions, so we had a very healthy discussion, a wonderful panel, wonderful panelists with plenty of information and knowledge yet to be capsuled within a session of 45 minutes. And my learning around innovation today is just like something which I could summarize from everybody's oration, that until you had COVID, the 5 rupee mask was not there in the market.